But now let's go back to the Democratic contest for the presidential nomination, and Joe Biden has claimed victory in a majority of states in today's latest round of primaries. Now that includes the critical state of Michigan. Is it the end though for Bernie Sanders? Nayela Amaru is a Democratic consultant and she joins me now from New York. Nayela, lovely to talk to you. Now the Biden revival has been remarkable. Why do you think things have changed so quickly?
It has, in fact, been incredibly remarkable, but not too surprising for those of us who understand the importance of the Southern votes and particularly the Black electorate within the Democratic Party. You know, the media narrative before Super Tuesday and before South Carolina had an opportunity to vote last weekend was that essentially Iowa and New Hampshire had tremendous power to essentially determine who the top one or two contenders for the Democratic nominee could potentially be. However, Iowa and New Hampshire do not reflect in any way a majority of the base of the Democratic Party, which are specifically Black voters. And so when Biden did not do well at all in New Hampshire and in Iowa, coming in fourth and fifth place, he blew it out of the water when it came to South Carolina. And that's because South Carolina, the base within the Democratic Party are older Black voters, and they came out and voted overwhelmingly for him, which completely changed the narrative of who the contender for the nominee could eventually be. And after South Carolina, Biden started racking up endorsements from former contenders in this year's cycle, from colleagues in Congress, and that really changed the narrative and the momentum for him coming into Super Tuesday, again, where he did what he needed to do when his campaign was essentially on life support 10 days earlier.
And of course, we heard from him suggesting that, you know, I guess acknowledging that potentially his path now to get the Democratic nomination is almost assured. How critical is it that he has also garnered that support as the best candidate to potentially defeat Donald Trump?
Well, you know, Joe Biden threw his hat in the ring with his entire argument saying, I am the only candidate who can beat Donald Trump. And he did that by essentially framing his campaign as a throwback to the good old Obama days, if you will, which was the last good place Democrats were in, federally speaking. And also his argument that he could take back the rural votes that left Clinton and voted for Trump. And a lot of emphasis on the quote unquote white working class, which Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin really played a part in terms of how Clinton lost the Electoral College due to that particular demographic and for other reasons. But really just setting up his entire campaign narrative saying that because I come from this base has supported me in the past. I come from these communities myself personally. I can take back these votes that Trump won in 2016 and bring back some victories for the Democratic Party.
What do you think Bernie Sanders' next move is going to be?
Sanders has made no indication that he's interested in dropping out, at least prior to next Tuesday, where we'll have Ohio, Illinois, and Missouri will come and vote. Although the numbers in terms of the delegate race are certainly not in his favor. You know, in 2016, the lifeline for his campaign was essentially Michigan, right? With Michigan, which is the base of the quote unquote rural or white moderate working class voters. And while he barely squeaked by a win in 2016, it was a big win because really no one really saw it coming, particularly for Hillary Clinton, who had been doing the work on the ground and previously and had the name recognition. And for all the reasons that people kind of assumed that she would be the nominee. Last night proved the numbers are not in his favor. You know, Sanders' entire campaign has been the narrative being that he can bring out the youth vote and that he can bring back the white working class. And yesterday's results in Michigan prove that he can do neither one of those things. The youth turnout has remained essentially the same, dipped a little bit in some of the states that, as we saw from Super Tuesday. And the other aspect of his need to build coalitions beyond the youth and beyond the white working class, again, is the importance, particularly within the Democratic Party, how important voters of color are, and again, specifically the Black electorate. If you look at the numbers in Flint, Michigan, Biden won with roughly 60%. Sanders squeaked by with 33%. So what that says is, victories matter, but so do margins. So it would be a different story if it were just barely a win. But the fact that Biden is winning so decisively tells us a lot about what we need to know about who has the support of which demographics within the party.
Interesting to watch, Naila. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.